Hello everybody, welcome back to another review. Today we're going to take a look at Loki. This is the third series from Marvel Studios released on Disney Plus, and it is one that plays more with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's more kind of like fantasy style that deals with themes like the multiverse, like other worlds, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it centers around a new organization called the TVA, which we'll discuss. And it also focuses on Loki, which is one of my actually favorite characters from the MCU. I think he is great in the Avengers and Thor Ragnarok especially, and I'm glad this series was made because this is a character that has a lot of potential and it has a lot of stories that can be told through him. And even though, well, I'm gonna discuss some spoilers about the MCU, so if you don't want, haven't seen many of the other Marvel movies, you'll probably get spoiled. But he actually dies in Avengers Infinity War. So this series deals with a different Loki, the one we saw at the end of Avengers Endgame, which takes the Tesseract and leaves to another place. And from there, he meets this new organization called the TVA, which is kind of like this otherworldly authority that kind of like governs everything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and deals with the timelines, the multiverse kind of thing. We saw actually in Avengers Endgame, we see a lot of this in Endgame, especially in the discussion of time travel and how the branching timelines work. I think the Ancient One described this to the Hulk, and this is a theme that was really interesting, and it was executed well in this series in Loki, but also I thought it could have been executed better. So this is one of the main focuses of the series, and it was done really well, but also I think it could have been done better. It focuses a lot on Loki, and I think the series could have done a better job as like focusing on Loki as the god of mischief and not as this person who's just like helping this organization like reach their goals and basically just follow them as being like kind of a prisoner. I wish we could have seen more of Loki in action. But still, it was executed, and as always, Tom Hiddleston does a great job with the character. And the series starts great. I mean, the first episode blew me away. I thought it was one of the best intros to a series that I've ever seen, like the best pilot. And it shows a lot of like Loki's backstory. Well, the Loki we meet in the movies, the one from Thor and all his way until his demise in Avengers Infinity War, like we see him kind of like experience that and learn about the fate of that Loki. And that was super interesting. So the first episode hooked me like this. I expected a lot. It was a really strong start and one that actually faded a little bit with time. So I'm going to talk about my... Also, this one has like a lot of expectations that it creates during the series, and a lesson I learned in WandaVision is not to get your hopes too up with theories, with fan theories, with characters, with that kind of stuff, because I wouldn't say you get disappointed, but if you start like kind of like creating this idea that you're gonna like see all this amazing stuff, and the writers have another plan, then you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you enjoy it as a series and like be open-minded to whatever happens, then you're going to be satisfied. So the other characters in the series are really good. It has Owen Wilson playing a character named Mobius, which I thought was great. I think the series could have done a better job, like focusing more on Loki's relationship with, the world, his past. I feel like it focused too much on the TVA, but also I didn't mind it. It led to some interesting moments. But like I said before, like these moments also kind of bored me in some parts. So I wish there would have been more of a balance of focusing on Loki, like why he is there, like what his motivations are, and also going back and forth to the TVA. I think the series lacked a little bit in pacing, especially in the other episodes, and yeah, I think it would have been much better if the series also like played a little bit more homage to the other Marvel movies. But yeah, I think the parts where it shines, but also there's like a lot of tedious sequences that feel like they're leading somewhere, and then when you feel like they're gonna lead somewhere, it just kind of stops, and then really nothing happens. So that's something, without going too much into spoilers, especially in episode like I think 4, that kind of happens a lot throughout the series. Like you wait for something to happen, and then it's about to happen, and they're like doesn't really pay off. At least not in the way I expected it to pay off. This is something that happened a lot in WandaVision, and I think that's partly fault of kind of like I want to say it's fault of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but mostly like the fans now. With all of Disney's money they have and all the acquisitions, like they do like more crazier stuff and more like fan servicey stuff. I think after Avengers Endgame, everybody's just expecting a lot of fan service. And most of these series, especially WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, don't deliver as much fan service, but they focus more on telling a story, which is fine on its own. I think on its own it's great. But within the context of the MCU, it leaves more to wish for people who want more fan service. And speaking of the context of the MCU, this show, I don't recommend it too much for people who don't know much about Marvel or any like the characters like Loki or like any of the how the multiverse works. I think it's a very specific series for fans of sci-fi, fans of kind of like crazy fantasy, kind of like old style fantasy. And that's why I liked it so much. That's why I think I liked Loki because it plays with a lot of crazy stuff. It's not afraid to go into some crazy areas, and that's what I enjoyed about it. So if you're not like into this kind of stuff, you're probably not gonna like the series. But I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, now I'm gonna spoil a little bit. As we saw with the ending, the series is probably gonna come back for a second season, which I'm excited for. And yeah, I thought the series was good. It didn't meet all my expectations. I honestly expected more. I went in a little kind of like open minded, and in a lot of areas, it just kind of also it didn't. I feel like with these TV shows, they don't reach the same quality as movies. Like, for example, Black Widow was recently released. I like that movie, but you can tell like the difference in quality between a TV show and a movie. Like the writing in a movie is more fast paced. They gotta kind of cram more story and more action scenes in a shorter time, so it's a little bit more fast paced, more enjoyable. And series just they're not afraid to stretch out, so that leads to some boring moments. But still, I think it works well to set stuff up. So yeah, I think I enjoyed Loki, and I'm gonna give it a 78 out of 100. It's way better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just a little below WandaVision. I think WandaVision is a little bit better. It kept me entertained for most of the midseason. Even though I didn't like the ending, I felt like it had more of a consistent quality throughout the series. Loki was more like back and forth, but still, it's enjoyable. So, anyways, that's all. Most of my thoughts on Loki, and yeah, it's a good series from Marvel, and I can't wait to see more of them in the future. I can't wait to see some of their future films, see where it goes from here, and that's all for today. So, see you later.